Are you new to Blood Bowl 3 or a returning player and looking for a team that you can really mold to your liking? I'm Controlled Chaos, and in this video we're going to be going over the human team, which is very malleable and can play in multiple ways. So the first one we're going to talk about is the human lineman. You could literally fill out the whole entire thing with the human lineman. But if you look here, they have no skills whatsoever. Their stats, however, are across the board normal. They are the average player that all the other players are based off of in moving stats around. They got a movement of 6, a strength of 3, an agility of 3+, a pass of 4+, so it's not really good in the pass game, and an armor value of 9+. Now, when you're looking to outfit abilities for the lineman, what I recommend right off the bat is get block. That's why I recommend that you always get, because it's going to be cheap, it's going to be easy to get and pick up. Now, depending on how you want to play this character would depend on how you want to mold it. If you want to take one of your linemen, make him a kicker, you want to get kick and go that direction, so they can be very malleable. I wouldn't worry about things like strip ball. I would throw those onto other characters. You might want to throw dirty play on them if you're doing fouling. Other things I would highly recommend are guard. Guard is a really good one to take. They can really use that to help out. And then you can also get them dodge. So that way, if you have block and dodge, on the double down, they won't go down. On the down with the exclamation point, they won't go down. They'll just get pushed. And that's really good. And if you're going the direction of dodge, I highly recommend sidestep, because sidestep allows you to choose where that player is being pushed. That way, you get to make sure that they're being pushed the direction you want them to go. And that's really good. Another good thing to get if you're playing the fouling game is sneaky get, because the player is not sent off the field when a double is rolled during the armor penetration phase of this whole entire thing. Now, the next one I want to talk about is the blitzer. The blitzer is slightly better than the lineman for two reasons. One, they have block automatically. They all start with block. 2, their movement is of 7 instead of 6. All the other stats are the same, but they get also the primary of getting strength. So what I recommend, the first thing you get is you get guard with these guys. I highly recommend that. You might want to add mighty blow on to these guys, but I also add in to a few of them strip ball, so that way when you tackle the player with the ball, you knock the ball out of their hands. And maybe even some shadowing would be a good one, and some frenzy onto a few of them is what I recommend. Other things I mentioned is mighty blow would be good for them. I would look at dodge once again for the same reason as I mentioned with the lineman. Same with sidestep. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Let's say you're wanting to play a bit of the passing game. The passing game, I recommend you get yourself at least 1 or 2 throwers. Start off with 1 thrower. And then the reason being is they get pass, which makes it that so that they can re-roll a pass that's failed, and sure hands, because they can re-roll the pickup of the ball if they fail. Now the great thing about the passer is they have a pass of 2+. All the other stats are the same as the lineman, but they're amazing at passing. And the abilities I look at getting for them is you want to go into the pass, and I would look at things like, if you're wanting to do short game passing, get accuracy. If you're wanting to do long throws, get the cannoneer. That's what I recommend. You could also do running passes in case you want them to run and pass. You could also give them block would be a good one to have. And then maybe you want to have your catcher be able to strip the ball, so once they've stripped the ball, they can throw the ball. That would work. I wouldn't highly recommend it, but you could go that direction. You could also give them guard and dodge, are two others that are highly usable for this character. But more than that, you could do fumbles risky, which allows you to abandon the ball when you go do blitz. So if you're wanting to make this a blitzing type character where he's going to run up and hit the enemy while carrying the ball, and you want to risk the chance of getting a double down or the thrower going down on the attack, then you could put this in, and this would make it so you drop the ball before doing the attack. That's if you want to go that direction. I also recommend things like dump off. If the player is the target of a block action and he's carrying the ball, he can immediately quickly pass it to another team player. And that's really, really good. That's a smart thing to get when you have a thrower, just in case. Now, next one I want to talk about, if you're playing the throwing game and the ball game, is you want to get a catcher. And the reason you want to get the catcher is for several reasons. One, they get catch. So if you fail on a roll of a catch, it re-rolls. They also get dodge, which adds a re-roll to the dodge test. Now, they get a movement of 8, so their movement is really good. They have a strength of 2, so they are not going to do much hitting. They have an agility of 3+. Their passing is terrible. It's a 5+, and their armor is bad. It's an 8+. So you want to protect your catchers. You want to create a box around them with linemen or block or blitzers to do that. Now, to help out with this, what I recommend you get is put block on them, because it's going to be cheap. It's in their primaries. So block would be really, really good for them to get. Okay. I would also get sure hands on them if they need be. Then I would look at things like in the agility, you could get, sprint, which allows them to move an extra attempt on a rush. So instead of getting the 2 for the rush, you could get 3 rushes, which enhances that for them to be able to actually move a bit further, which is nice. Then you can do things like get sure feet, so that on their turn it's activated, they can reroll a 1d6 on a rush. That's great, and we're great attached to sprint. Leap is another good one because it allows you to jump over any square during their movement that's occupied by a single player. So you'll be able to jump over other players, being very, very helpful. Now, I would completely ignore the passing game. In the secondaries, you might want to get guard and stuff like that. You know, that one would be really good to get. Now, continuing on, you also have the halflings. They are very cheap to get, but there are some issues with them. And the issues are their movement is of 5, their strength is of 2, agility of 3+, passive 4+, armor of 7+. So it's even worse than the catcher. But they get some really good abilities to start off with. You have dodge, which is really good. It makes it easier for dodging. Now, they also have the right stuff. If this player, because they have a low strength, they can be thrown by other teammates, which is really, really good. Then they are also stunty. Because they are stunty, they get, they ignore the -1 for the mark penalty when doing a dodge test, which is great. So for them, I would highly recommend things like the sidestep would be a great one for them to get. Definitely. I would also recommend block on them and maybe guard. is where I would go with them. But the main reason you're getting them is to use with the next one I'm going to talk about, which is the Ogre. The Ogre is your strong guy. He's going to be your heavy hitter. So with the Ogre starting off, you get Bonehead. You roll a d6. And if the result is 1, he does nothing. He just won't move. He'll just stand there and won't take the action. Another negative to this is he's a loner. The rerolls with it on this guy are pointless. Don't waste your rerolls on the Ogre. But they get some benefits. And the benefits are Mighty Blow, which is a +1 when they're doing an attack. And then Thick Skull. So it's harder for them to get stunned and knocked out. The last ability that they start off with is the Throw Teammate. And this is where it's good to have the Halfling on the team, because the Ogre can throw the Halfling. You can literally have the Halfling have the ball and throw the Halfling as if it was the ball, and then the Halfling can do their move. Or have the Halfling move up to them, have the Ogre throw them. However you see fit to play, that needs to be played. Their stats are good. They're good for attacks for this reason. They have a movement of 5, so they can't move that far, but they have a strength of 5. They can really get through the armor. And then with that Mighty Blow, even more so, because it adds that +1. Their agility is terrible. It's 4+. Their passing is a 5+. Terrible. Their armor is really good, of a 10+. So what I recommend on these guys, first thing you want to get them block. Definitely get them block. Another one I recommend is Frenzy. Because they have that high strength, Frenzy is a good one for them to get. And then Shadowing would be good for them to get too, because then they're staying stuck to whoever you want when they try to dodge out. And that's a good thing, along with Strip Ball, if they're going to be your main guy going after the ball carrier, which I really don't recommend because of the agility. You can use him as sort of a support to assist. And with that being said, I would highly recommend definitely Guard. And then you could do other things like doing Grab, where you get to choose where your opponent goes on a push. You get to force them around, and that's good. I also recommend Stand Firm so that they cannot be pushed around. Another thing you might even want to think about is giving them Dodge. And the reason you're giving is because they get to do the negate of the down with the exclamation point. That's really good for them to get and use. So I won't worry about doing any of the other stuff on them for that. And how you build up this team is really up to you. It depends. Do you want to be more of the bashing team? Do you want to be more of the passing team and stuff like that? Along with, do you want to, if you're going to be more of a passing, you definitely want like a couple catchers, at least a thrower. If you're wanting to utilize the halfling, make sure you have the ogre. If you don't have the ogre, don't take any of the halflings, because the halflings aren't that strong. They're not going to help you out that much. Now, if you're going to go with a bashing team, I would recommend all 4 blitzers, the ogre, and the lineman. You could also build this out to where it's balanced out. The way I built mine out, I had 1 ogre, 1 thrower, a couple catchers, 4 blitzers, 1 halfling, and then the rest in linemen. And I, of course, took the apothecary and gave a couple of rerolls. You definitely want to make sure that you have an apothecary, at least 1 reroll when building out your team. I'd recommend 2 rerolls, but do what you feel is right. Now, when we're talking about things like the team setups, you can see the team that I built here that I just talked to you about. When we're talking about formations, you want to have your ogre, which is right here. You want to have him front line. Then what I recommend is you take your blitzers, which is 3, put him here, 4, put him here, take 5, put him here, 6, put him here. And then your thrower, which is number 2, I put him about there, midfield, maybe even move him back 1 to here. I would take your catchers that you have, I put catcher here, and I would take this catcher and I'd put him here. I'd take your lineman and put him here. So you have all of that. And then we have this lineman. Probably put him like here. Now, if this is the halfling and you're doing the halfling trick, what I recommend you do, actually, hold on. 11, okay. Lineman. Okay, here's the halfling. So I'm going to move this lineman over here, and I have the halfling here. I'd put the halfling here. And the reason being, what you could do is when the ball's being kicked for you for doing the catching, you can take your thrower, go pick up the ball, hand it off to, or throw it to your catchers. You don't want to throw it to the halfling, and I throw it to the catchers because they have the catch ability. Then I run the catcher over to the halfling, do a pass off when you're right next to him, because then there's no passing skill needed for that, or catching skill. It's very basic. It goes off of agilities, and as we can see, the agilities are decent for both of these. And then that's where the ogre can throw the halfling across. And then that's where I break up their front line here. And so if they have 3 guys here, I'd use 2 of these blitzers to take out 2 of their guys, and then the big guy to take out 1 guy. And then I'd move these blitzers out. If these blitzers get stuck, you could easily move these linemen in to assist the blitzer. And then these blitzers can go and protect the halfling that's been thrown. However, if you're going more of a passing game, then I would recommend you, so let's say you have 4 catchers. I'd recommend that a couple of the catchers get pass, just to make it a bit easier so that they can pass the ball around, or have another thrower and give the second thrower a catch. Because then what you could do is you could have a thrower here. So let's say they throw the ball and it lands way over here. You can have this thrower run over, grab this ball, throw it to another thrower that'd be somewhere over here. This thrower could then throw it to the catcher, and then the catcher could run over and do their touchdown with using your blitzers and stuff like that. But I do a different setup for this. What I would do is I take this lineman, I throw him over there. I take this lineman, throw him over there. And then what I do is have this guy, this blitzer, would go here, because you can only have, or maybe even go here. But you see, only 2 players are allowed, so you can't do that. So you can move him there, and then you can move this catcher here. Yes, you're weak on this field. Yes, you're announcing that. And you could even move these guys back. Now, if you're playing defense, what I recommend is that you definitely keep the blitzers there, have this blitzer here, and have this kind of thing. You notice I moved the blitzers out and I have the linemen here. The reason being is you want to have a heavy hitter over here. And then this kicker, I would move closer in. But you don't want to move him too close in case someone gets through the line. If you have a dodgy team getting through here, you want to be able to have the thrower to be a last defense. And that's what I recommend for that. Overall, this is how I build different ways I would build the human teams and how customizable they really are. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe. Have a great day.